Welcome back to another episode of Business Highlight, a show by the Boca Raton Tribune. In Business Highlight, we talk to local business professionals about their companies or nonprofits or what they're showing to the community. And my whole name is Pedro. Before we get started, make sure to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's right there in the bottom, bocatribune.tv. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with RJ, the creator and author of the Ultimate Five Squad comic book. RJ, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Pedro, what's going on, buddy?
Going good. Thanks for wanting to come on and talk to us. We're very excited to have you on the show.
Yes, of course. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. So before we even get started, introduce yourself for those that might not know who you are. What is it that you're doing? And we'll go from there.
Sure. So my name is RJ Rise, and I am the author of the Ultimate Five Squad book. This is the action book, and this is the activity book. And the goal, my goal was always to empower children. And so I call myself the chief confidence booster at the Ultimate Five Squad company.
So how did you get involved in this, comic books? And were you interested on it as a kid growing up, or was this something that you just saw, a need for and you wanted to fill that need?
Yeah, sure. So two-part question. And the first part is yes. As a child, I love comic books. We were unfortunately just couldn't afford to buy the latest issues, and so I had to borrow some from my friends. But what I loved and what was free was in aftercare. The aftercare teachers would photocopy pages of coloring books. So the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Power Rangers, the Superman, the Batmans, and I would love to color those. And so those were fun activities for me. And like you said, your second question, I saw a need. There was a lack of diversity in the superhero market, but we've had, indigenous Black people of color. We've had characters, but not a crew, not an entire squad. And so I wanted to add something special to the segment.
So tell us about you. Are you local to Boca? How long you've been living in South Florida? What were you doing before you started this Ultimate Five Squad comic book?
Yeah, I'm a local, Delray Beach, Florida. I work in Boca, and I moved here when I was 21 years old. It was one of the best moves in my life. Nothing wrong with Jersey. a lot of Jersey folks down here. We come down for a reason. It's beautiful, and I love the weather, love the people. I have family down here and obviously up there still. But there was something different for me when I came down. I felt something different in the air. And so I made the move and never looked back. And what was the second half of your question, Pedro?
No, so what do you do besides working, doing the Ultimate Five Squad?
Yeah, so I started out as a teacher, and I resigned. I was a PE teacher, and I loved what I did. I loved being with kids, and I knew that I could affect change. I could still impact them in a different medium. And so I said, let me put together a book with characters that are like everyday people. They're not superheroes. They're not from, outer space. They didn't get bitten by a spider. They're everyday people like me and you. And I wanted kids to see themselves through these characters. I know that they too could be heroes. So my number one passion is always with kids, whether it's doing PE with them or now doing author read out louds. That's where I got my start.
Yeah. So let's jump a little bit into talking about the Ultimate Five Squad. What gave you the idea to create this? And what were some inspirations that you had for this project?
Yeah. So the inspirations is wild because we see it happening today. So what I mean by that is the true inspiration was I went and saw Black Panther. And then I also, I think a few weeks later, saw Crazy Rich Asians. And what those two movies had in common was the protagonists of the movies, the leading actors and actresses, were minorities. So in Black Panther, they were Black folks. In Crazy Rich Asians, they were Asian. And the thinking at the time was maybe having an all Black and all Asian cast won't do box office records. Maybe it won't even do that well. Well, the audience spoke, the people spoke, and both movies did extremely well. And so what it showed me was if you portray people how they want to be portrayed, which is in a respectful manner, they're going to go out and support the venture you're putting together. And so I took that idea, I took that concept, and I said, let me create a book where we have people, Black people that are that kids can look up to and are portrayed in a nice, positive way. So those two movies had a huge role into why I leaped into this. And as we saw last year with the civil unrest, representation matters. And as we're seeing today with the Asian communities, they're feeling what we went through last year. It's crazy how those two groups inspired the book, and now we see things happening in today's news.
Talk about so let's talk about Ultimate Five Squad. What is the book actually about? And is it a one story issue, or are you planning on doing multiple runs, or what are you planning on doing?
Yeah, so the story is about five friends who come together and save the world from invading robot aliens. So there are robot aliens that are coming towards Earth, and as they're approaching, they're letting Earth know, hey, we're coming. They send a signal. And so now the world starts to freak out, and we send our experts. And so this book takes place 100 years into the future. And so we send one expert from the west part of the world. And I don't want to spoil it, but that person goes up to try to intercept the aliens, but fails. And so now we send another from the middle part of the world. They go up there and she fails. And then we send two more and they go up there and they fail. So as this is developing, our five friends are watching this and they're saying, well, I'm good at this and you're good at that and you're good with this. If we put our powers together, we can maybe do something about it, as opposed to just being innocent bystanders. Let's work together and do something about it. So individually, they can't do this, but collectively, by putting their heads together, they become the ultimate five squad.
I'm sold. I'm going to buy a couple anyways. But guys, if you're interested in buying some books, you can head over to their website, ultimate5squad.com. There you can find more information on the book and where to get it. You probably want to be able to, you probably can buy it online as well, right?
Exactly. Yep. You can buy it on Amazon. You could buy it on the website. If you buy it from the website, if you leave a memo in the process, I'll write or sign the book for your child. So if you say, hey, RJ, this book is for my son Noah or for my daughter Jessica, just write that in the memo, and I'll handwrite them a little note.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the process to get this book out there. I've talked to authors before in the past, but never a comic book author. But they told me how difficult the process to create a book is. How was the process for to create this comic book? What was that like? And was there a lot of difficulties and things that you didn't expect to happen, but then at the end of the day, obviously everything worked out?
Yeah. So it was my first time in publishing a book, period. So there was a lot that I had to learn. It was a cool process, a lot of information to soak in. And in today's age, you could Google and find so much. And there's so many little communities, whether it be on Facebook or Google. If you have questions, ask. It's out there. And so I did a lot of research, learned a lot, figured out how to self-publish and put a book together. From there, it was illustrations. I can't draw. That's just not one of my it's just not something I was gifted with. So I had to hire out an illustrator who could do that. And so I went on a freelancer website and I went and typed in what I was looking for, showed them examples. And I had a few who I would pitch and say, yep, I could do it for you. And this is my style. This is my style. So I went through all of them and I saw one that really stood out to me. And we've been working ever since. And so I explained to him my vision, what I wanted done. And being that it was my first time, didn't realize that every single page, every little detail had to come from me, right? It couldn't be, I couldn't let it up to him. It's up to me to verbalize my vision. So the mountains, the trees, the outfits, the earrings, the lipstick, the hairstyle, the shoes, the ground, the rocks, every little detail had to come from me. What shape, what color, what size. And then it was up to them to take that information and then put it on paper. And they did an amazing job with that. So I got the illustrator to work on that. A step before that, I reached out to two friends in LA and I said, I need your help in creating a story. This is my vision. This is what I want kids to get from this, that they can be heroes too. They don't have to be, super or have some extra powers. The decision to act is a superpower. And so they understood that concept. We worked on a storyline, but first I had to give each character substance. It wasn't just Jada and Destiny and Q, but who are these people? I had to know these people like they were family members, like they were my friends. I had to know their likes, their dislikes, their favorite breakfasts, their favorite drinks, what they do for fun, what they hate doing, what they're strong at, what they're weak at. They had to become my friends, my imaginary friends. And so once we created those characters and we knew them in and out, now how did these 5 individual people become friends? How did they just magically, become friends, or was there a backstory behind that? So every little detail had to be thought of. And I told them my main goal is I don't want this to be a beginning and end. It can't be book 1 and that's it. No, I wanted book 2, book 3, book 4, book 5. I want this to be a series. And so we put together a story that had a nice beginning. It introduces each character, gives you a little something about them, and then there's a climax, and then there's an end, but it leaves room for book 2, book 3, and book 4. And so, so once they helped me create the story, then we did a storyboard, took that storyboard to the illustrator, explained to him exactly what I wanted, and then it was trial and error. Sometimes it came out right, sometimes things were a little wrong. The color wasn't right, or the imagery wasn't right, so we had to change it up. But that process was fun. The process I thought kicked my butt was when you now take the pages and turn it into a physical book, because the printers, there are specific things that they ask for. Is this book bleeding? Does the color go to the edge of the page, or does it stop? So we had to work on that, work on the margins, and we finally got it, and that was the process. So creating the story, developing each character, getting with the illustrator, and then adding that to a physical book.
A lot of people might say, a lot of people think, because I mean, full disclosure, I'm a comic book fan as well, but a lot of people might say comic books are really quote unquote easy to write because all you got to do is worry about creating those little bubbles that you see. But can you talk about how wrong that is, and how there's so much more that you need to write to create that one or two panels that you end up seeing as a reader? But
Yeah.
as the author, right, you have to write pages on pages just for maybe 2 or 3 panels.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not an easy concept. I mean, if it was, everybody be doing it. As I mentioned before, there's got to be a backstory. You have to understand who the characters are, and is what is being said in that little bubble, those 5 words or those 10 words or the 20 words, does it make sense to that character and who they are? Does it make sense in the broader scope of the story? So it's not just slapping words on a page and then it's a home run. There's got to be some thinking behind that. And so it has to be cohesive from beginning, middle, end, not only for that character, but them together and the full story. So there's a lot more to it, but it's fun. Once you get it right, it feels right. And then, of course, you test it out with some audience. Does this sound right? And then they'll tell you, well, no, I thought this person was like this. So why are they doing that? Or why are they saying that? So your audience will help you, or your friends will help you figure out if it makes sense or not.
It's awesome, guys. I'm talking to RJ Rise, the creator and author of the Ultimate 5 Squad comic book. If you guys want to check out more information or get some books, head over to ultimate5squad.com. RJ, what were some of the writers or maybe even artists? Like, I know you said you weren't an artist, but what are maybe some writers or artists that inspired you to create this book?
Yeah, so my main goal was to empower children. I wanted them to feel good about themselves. And so I had to dig back a little bit to the Toni Morrison, to the James Baldwin. I had to really think about what did they want for our generation? How did they want us to feel and think about ourselves? And so I took a little bit of that and then I added it to this story. So they inspired me, and it's helped build the story of the Ultimate 5 Squad. People like also Maya Angelou, as a deep woman as she was. The poems that she wrote, the context, Dr. Martin Luther King, his writings, and his vision for the world that we're still trying to get to today.
Yeah. So if you were, as we're wrapping up, I usually ask this to everybody, so you're not going to be any different. But what's some advice that you would give someone that's either a wanting to become like to create something, maybe even a comic book, or this is a two-parter, or someone who wants to make a difference in what they're doing? What would be some advice that you would give those people?
Yeah, do it because it's the right reason to do it. Do it because you're passionate about it. Because if you lose passion about it, you'll just give up, right? If
Yeah.
once the obstacles start to come, then it's too hard. Then why am I doing this? But if you have a purpose and you're driven, then no matter the obstacles, you're going to keep going because you found your purpose. When I was putting this together, I was just working on it for 2 years straight, nonstop, because I
Wow.
love the creating process, the creation of making the book. And so I didn't stop. I didn't know that 2 years later, in the middle of the year, we'd be going through not only a pandemic, but also civil unrest, right? I didn't do it
Yeah.
because I knew this was going to happen. I did it because I knew it was needed and it was lacking. So do it from a passionate place, and once
Right.
you do, things do fall into place. So also find inspiration, find people that are doing it and are doing it at the highest level, and if you mimic, right, like Pablo said. Something about copying is the greatest form of flattering, something like that.
Flattery. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Imitation is a bit the greatest form of flattery. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So mimic who is doing it at the top of the game. Don't
Yeah.
copy them, but just see, what does being a pro, a professional look like? What kind of work ethic does that require? And then create your own style. Bring your own flavor to it. So I
Hmm.
would say inspiration. Find inspiration because that keeps you going. That lets you know, oh wow, these people are doing it every day. They're grinding. This is what they love to do. So I would say, be passionate about it and then find inspiration, and then it all falls into place.
RJ, again, guys, talking to RJ, the author and creator of the Ultimate Five Squad. Head over to their website, ultimate5squad.com, to buy their books and get more information. But RJ, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciated you on the show. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we close out?
You covered everything. Thank you so much for having me. One little thing that we are working on, my team and I are extremely proud. Some of the feedback that we've been getting, literally almost every 4 or 5 emails is this an animated series? Is this, where can I find this? So it wasn't, but now we're working on it because the
Oh,
feedback
wow.
has been so great. So we're really excited. We're going to put something together, an animated production, and we can't wait to bring the 5 characters to life, bring their stories to life, and
That's awesome.
the world. Yeah.
That's awesome. RJ, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that's gonna wrap up another episode of Business Highlight. If you really enjoyed the content that we're creating, share with your friends, and make sure to follow us on YouTube. Click subscribe. That way, you're never gonna miss another show. But for now, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.